Hey everyone. Welcome back to my workbench. It has been a minute since I did a video. So there was a very positive and unexpectedly good review for my turn this thing a little bit. For my overlay controller. I sent to one of the hosts on the well, I didn't know it was one of the co-hosts until after they bought it. One of the overlay controllers for the Atari 5200. So I got this massive rush of orders, which I appreciate. I ran out of parts really fast. So you'll notice if you did order, there's a bunch of back orders right now. I'm literally waiting for parts from China. So that's that. But bigger news is my wife is going in for um, surgery on Monday. She has breast cancer, so I'm either going to be able to catch up on stuff or I'm not going to be able to work on anything for a week. So take that one either way. So I don't know until I get there. So hopefully, please send me any of your well wishes, and hopefully she goes through it okay. It's a double mastectomy, so with some reconstruction, so that's going to be a bit. I think your surgery is going to be like 8 hours, something like that. So it's funny, not funny, but interesting. Like when this all started, is when I first posted this analog controller to the um, just the Atari Age group on Facebook. I never would have imagined just like the mad rush of orders since then. I mean, I think I'm up to. I mean, I've already shipped, I think, 22 controllers so far. And I know I already have orders for, I think 11 sitting in the queue right now. I only have parts for like four of them, or at the most six if you don't mind the button color. Because I ran out of the arcade buttons real quick. They use four per, so you go through a lot of controllers, a lot of buttons. So yeah, so I got the whole breast cancer thing going on with my wife, and then we got just, and then I got that review, which was a great review, but it just I didn't expect yet another like wave of orders at this point because I really wanted to like catch up a little bit and focus more on my wife uh, than making orders. So if I suddenly go incommunicado for a while, that is why. But rest assured, you will get your controller sooner or later. And yeah, I only had parts. Well, I only have parts for four. No, no, I had parts for six, and then those sold out in like 3 hours, something like that. It was crazy fast. So now I'm just trying to plow through and get um, one by one. Before I was doing batches of controllers, and I actually find that quite unenjoyable. So I'm going to do the more artisanal route for now, just because it's much more interesting to me to build a controller and ship it out, build a controller, ship it out, instead of like trying to batch like five or six of them. Because I don't seem to be catching up. When I did that for the last two batches, I don't think it sped anything up really, and um, it just feels too much like factory work. End of the day, this is still a hobby of mine. It's not my main job, and the main job's been pretty busy, but it's finally, I think, finally turning a corner on one of these projects we're working on. So I've gone through a lot of iterations on this controller so far. Um, Figuring out how to better mount brackets up, how to mount the potentiometers up, simplifying some of the uh, how to just basically get everything put together, like different types of screws, things you wouldn't think about. It's like how much like a screw type makes a difference when it comes to assembly. Like you discover uh, Phillips heads are so much more convenient to work with than Allen's or hex heads, if you want to call it. I went with I changed some of the design so they're self-tapping, because before it was machine screws with nuts for most of it, and I switched to self-tapping screws instead, and it just makes it cleaner, neater, and in some cases better. And to just help this held together better. It's a lot less fiddly in terms of like making sure that nut doesn't back out, because a self-tapper will uh, hold its position much easier than a nut will. You don't have to worry about thread locking it or anything like that. And this is the other thing I've worked on and got, was these little boards I'm soldering with right now. Why can't I get you in there? These spread out the this old 50 thousandths IDC to 2mm to 2.54mm spacing. So it gives me a lot of space to play with. Why don't you want to go in, is the question. Yeah, this is full nerd gear. On the other hand, my eyes are getting old and it's getting harder to see things. So I just celebrated my 50th birthday. So things aren't as young as they used to be. And if you've ever had to go through it yourself or love someone who's gone through it, whew, it's a bear, man. And she is a particularly aggressive grade. I mean, it was still just, it was the stage 2, but it was the grade 3 they call it, which is the most aggressive type. And doesn't run in the family or anything like that, just freaking random. But I mean, she's had to go through chemo, and she's on hormone treatments now. Then she had blood clots in her lungs, so they had to delay surgery. And surgery, knock on wood, is finally going to happen. It's been like 9 months since this all started. And it's hard. She went through chemo, so she lost her hair and all that stuff. And she lost her fingerprints, which she really hasn't gotten back yet. I didn't expect that. She doesn't have any fingerprints. She doesn't have any fingerprints still. So I joke with her, when she had no hair, you should probably rob a bank or something, because she had no hair and no fingerprints. And you don't realize how much grip you get off of your fingerprints. She knows now. I know. So, interesting stuff. And then on top of that, this is the gross family hour. My son, he's been having intestinal issues, so we finally discovered he has IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and it was originally caused by a virus of all things. So we got to the point we actually took him to the ER, because it's like he was just like, okay, why do you have so much pain? And very, he had him going to CT and everything, a CAT scan, I should say, and turns out he's full of poop, and that's the reason why he's not feeling well. So they had put him on a whole regimen. We saw a gastroenterologist and have a whole thing where you basically clear you out. He was having diarrhea, but it was very strange because what happens if you're too impacted, the some gets past it, but you're not truly passing the major stool. Way too much information for a YouTube video, but there it is. I love this new stripper. Look at that. Just bam, done. Touch. There we go. So yeah, and of course all the stress is not great for anyone, myself included. So I've been fighting or dealing with anxiety, depression for many years. So I talked to a psychiatrist today about changing my medicine to help with anxiety, because just there's so many stressors, and you can only process so much. My son's graduating high school this year, trying to figure out what he's doing for college. It's just so much. And of course, the unexpected wave of people wanting these controllers. I never knew there was 40 years of pent up demand for. I mean, I knew people wanted an analog controller, and I know the other ones have been made, but I had no idea there'd just be this like groundswell of interest in my humble little controller. Well, it's been interesting. I'm seeing now why people start their own business. Not that I'd really want to go through all of the rigmarole of payroll and all that stuff, but I understand why people, the accomplishment you have when you start a business. I finally created my LLC this year, so I'm all official like now. And that's that. Look at my other drawing here. Oh, that doesn't look great in the camera, does it? Okay. Okay. There we go. Analog colors. Blue, violet, gray. That's what I thought. Didn't want to assume. Blue, violet, gray. But this whole little board here, let me go back to my screen so I can see what the heck I'm doing here. There it is. This little board here just has made my life so much easier. Whew. Than dealing with stripping individual wires, splaying out wires. I'm going to push this on. But blue, violet, gray. The reason I like rainbow wire, this IDC cable, this rainbow IDC, is if you know your resistor color codes, it makes it really easy to remember your order here. As I learned a very dirty way of how to remember resistor color codes. And that is bad boys rape our young girls, but Violet gives willingly. So Yeah. You know, your colors. I'm sure there's a clean version out there somewhere, but that's the one I was taught, and that's the one I remember. So yeah, there's one, and then I'm gonna do. I don't need to worry about that one. Talking to myself here. This color ends here. And back to my schematic here. Violet, blue, green. Violet, blue, green. That's why I had that little shorty. Violet, blue, green. Oh, might as well do the yellow since I'm here. It's a little interesting bit of history. Like, if you ever rip open a 5200 controller, the colors I am using are almost identical to the original controller's color scheme. Like even the only difference is IDC cable does not have pink, but the original controller does use the color pink. But everything else is actually pretty much the same color scheme. You just have brown instead of pink. But everything else is the same. So that was on purpose. Who asked me? I can't remember. Somebody, I gotta go back in my messages and see who wanted a version with a pass through, which I think is interesting. And once I plow through this set of orders, I need to work on the dual stick with an overlay support. Because I know I've been promising that a while, but I've not gotten there yet. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This one I actually do have this, but still a lot less work. So now instead of batching them together, I'm doing like a kit of all the. I print out the packing slips on which version to make, and then I go through and kit up an order of all the parts: joystick, keypad, overlay holder, cabling, rubber feet, knob, joystick spacers, buttons, potentiometers, joystick couplings, and underneath here is brackets. So this is basically all the parts, and I've cut on my CNC top housing already. Yeah, not too high. There we go. Yeah, that's basically the kit. So out of the kit, the brackets, couplings, spacers, and overlay holder, and the 3-button holder are all 3D printed by moi. So I switch from regular 1, 2, 3, 4. I switch from regular PLA to PLA Plus. Nice. It's really strong. You get really good prints out of it. So the overlay holder, actually everything in there, even the internal components are all made out of PLA Plus now, which is like PLA except stronger. They have put some additives in there to increase the strength, and flows real nice. Gets you real nice. I actually really like the finish I get off of the PLA Plus. So this is the new joystick knob. And I really like the kind of like a satin finish almost, I would say. I like the way it looks. So live and learn. for tonight. I think I'm just gonna finish a little more soldering here, and then see if the wife needs any help. It's getting pretty late already. It's already 11:30 at night. I'm just gonna finish soldering this, and then keep on keeping on. Everyone, I do appreciate all your support, all your business, and the words of I mean everything. The words of encouragement, the whole having trust in basically strangers selling you controllers that, I mean, the advantage of my controllers are they're not CGI, they're not a plan. There's not a Kickstarter. It's just I developed it, designed it, cut it, prototyped it, and people like it. So there's no everything's on the up and up here. I'm brutally honest. If I tell you like I screwed up on something, I screwed up on something. So um, everything is yeah, because I've actually had a couple of improvements to the original design. Better couplers, better bracket design. Added this to simplify it. So if you have like a version 1.0 controller, there's nothing wrong with it, but you'll notice there's like the screws are gonna be different. So if you order like a 1.0 and get like one now, you'll see like the screw heads are different. But the basic guts are all the same. It's just the same potentiometer, same capacitor, same wiring. It's just uh, it's in these little boards now instead of being little individual wires that were each of them was heat shrunk individually. That was a pain, but that's been fixed. So yeah, so instead of batching up, I'm just gonna build it, test it, build it, calibrate it, test it, ship it. I test every single controller. I go through and I play Ball Blazer, Choplifter, usually Pac-Man, just for a digital style. And if it's a dual stick, I play Robotron and Space Dungeon are the two dual stick games. I do have a dual stick controller out there, but I am going to have a dual stick overlay compatible, but I have not been able to prototype that one yet because I can't sacrifice any parts I have right now because I had parts for 6. I ordered 10. I got 10 orders in right away, and then I ordered another 15 sets of parts. So there's a lot coming, but it's going to take a couple weeks. I mean, it's AliExpress. Again, I'm brutally honest. That's where some of the stuff comes from. Some comes from Amazon, like the enclosure comes from Amazon. The rubber feet come from Amazon. Those are actually both American made. The enclosure and the rubber feet are made in the U.S. The cable, joystick, buttons are made in China, and the brackets, the the PLA brackets I make here in my basement. And so yeah, it's made all handmade by me. And again, it's a hobby. It's not like my won't live or die. If no one orders another controller, I'll be fine. But please order more controllers. I wouldn't mind. I use it for fun money. Um, I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I, the only thing I feel slightly bad about is I know there was one other analog controller out there to use the digital potentiometer, and I didn't mean to undercut him, but I think my controller costs less, and it's like a complete controller. It's not 3D printed plastic thing, and with like official keypads. Not that it's a bad thing, but I don't know. I didn't mean to like cut his legs out underneath him or her. Bad assumption. I might point out who it is. So yeah, sorry. Uh, I, I didn't realize the market really wanted a very traditional joystick because that's what I wanted. I wanted, basically, I said, what would I want in a modern 5200 controller? And so that's what I built. I wanted the same feel of the joystick. I wanted self-centering. I wanted nice big arcade buttons. I wanted big, beefy, and black like the original 5200. I mean, I've got a 4-porter by my feet down here. So if you ever see me doing video captures, I have a 5200 by my feet. And it's a real 5200. It's not emulated or anything. It's a real 4-porter. It's a beast of 5200. And I have an Atari Max cartridge in there with all the games, so very handy. The nice thing, it has a diagnostic program on there, so I can actually get the raw ADC readings off of the potentiometers. So I actually use this as my little calibration fixture. So eventually the joystick in the housing goes into the little cal fixture. Little calibration fixture like this, so it keeps it nice and centered. And so there's no bias or tilt. So just the whole weight of it just sits there. Well, once the ring's on there, it actually sits in there nice and flat and straight. And there's not a whole lot of clear. I mean, there's a little bit of clearance there, but how we set it up is this is basically dead center, and I adjust the pots until it's centered. But yeah, I just can't believe no one else figured it out. I'm almost done here. Let me show you. This, the magic is, I've had a couple people ask, where do you find a 640K potentiometer joystick? The answer is you don't. They don't exist. So I take this little guy, pry the back off. This is little carbon pads there. You just rip off the original wipers. Just don't use those anymore. And you use this 1 meg linear tapers. And even then, that's not enough. So you put 100 nanofarads in parallel with it. And it gets you a really nice swing. So this swing of the joystick gives you from, basically you're from 0 ohms all the way up to about equivalent about 500 meg or so, which is what the center is right around 220K or so. Yeah, right around 220K. So when you do the reactance, the impedance calculations, it uses a 60 hertz signal. If you do the impedance calculation, you'll get right around 220K if you have 87K, which is what this ends up being. 87K at plus the 100 nanofarads in parallel gives you an impedance of 220 kilo ohms. Go figure. I had to play around with that a little bit, different combinations of pots, and then I had to figure out the coupleless, how to bracket it, all that fun stuff. So probably a little too much information for everyone, so if you made it to the end of the video, you get to hear some secrets. Everyone, thank you for watching, and yeah, if I disappear for a week or two, you know, it's just wife is keeping me busy, and hopefully everything goes well. Thank you for any well wishes at a time, and have a great evening.